Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Triple C, Comics, Cosplay, and Cinema. We are your humble hosts. I am Lee, and you guys know Foggy Night over there, a.k.a. Jake. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? It's good to be back in the seat.
It
What's
is
going
good.
on?
It is good. I feel like I haven't seen you for a while.
I know. It's been a minute.
Doing your traveling. Well, guys, yeah, we're back for another fantastic episode, and today we're going to be talking about a variety of different things, but the main focus will be talking about our top sidekicks, basically from a compilation of Marvel and DC. We're also going to talk about, when we talked about doing this show originally, we were like, we can't just, if we do our top sidekick show, if we include Robin, then the top 4 slots
They're going to be all the Robins.
are going to be all Robins.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we decided to go ahead and split it up a little bit. We're going to share our top Robins, our favorite Robins, and then we'll also just talk about their favorite sidekicks to the Marvel and DC universe. But before we even get into all that, there's some really cool things that have happened over the past few weeks that we want to kind of dive into. One, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 has come out, and for those of you guys who've been watching the show, you know, we talked a little bit about how Phase 4 had let us down a little bit. You know, we were huge fans of Phase 3. But Phase 4 didn't really quite have that, the fun.
The magic was gone.
Yeah, the magic was just a bit gone. So, and then Phase 5 started off, and Ant-Man didn't quite do it for us as well.
Nope.
But so a lot of people were looking at Guardians and like, oh, what's going to happen? You know, what are we going to do? Is this comic book fatigue setting in?
Yeah.
You know, like it has been? And
Nope.
no, my friends. I loved it. Jake and I have not talked about this, by the way.
Yeah, it's going to be nice.
At all.
Like,
This will be the first
usually
time.
we ruin it on like the drive down, like trying to coordinate these shows, and we're like, damn it, we should have waited.
Exactly.
I actually don't know what you thought, so.
Oh, wow. I just said it. I loved it. I thought it was really good. I did. I thought it was from beginning to end, man. It had the heart, you know, and it had the comedy. It just had everything going for it. It was one of those movies, and I hadn't felt this for a while for me. As a kid, there was movies that I just didn't want to end. You know what I mean? It was just sitting in the theater and you're just really caught up in the escapism of that world. And you're just like, oh my gosh, when you realize that it's winded down, you get a little sad and depressed. I hadn't felt that way about a movie for quite some time, actually.
Yeah.
And Guardians was the movie for me that kind of
there
gave
you
me
go.
that feeling again, you know? I thought it was, like I said, I'll just say it again, I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. We could dive a little bit deeper into it, but that's my first initial thoughts.
Yeah, same. I think, you know, when we went back and we were talking about Marvel, you and I both had agreed that we both thought that Guardians would be the one we probably felt the most safe, that was going to be really good. And I came into it, you know, with full faith in James Gunn. You know, barring they let him just keep doing what he does with that franchise. And he did. It was everything that I wanted it to be and so much more. It was actually my favorite of the Guardians movies.
Mm-hmm.
I've been going back and forth in my head. Besides Ragnarok, it's right there actually is my favorite solo Marvel movie, period, they've put out so far in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. I thought it was great. It had everything from... It was one of those movies that I like because it had a little bit of everything. It had great humor, great heart, great action, a great story. Definitely hit you right in the feels. Multiple gut checks to the feels. And it really made Rocket, I think, the standout Guardian, which, you know, I think James Gunn has alluded to. It's his favorite Guardian, and kind of what Rocket's story has always been what drew him to start the Guardians franchise.
Yeah.
And he had already knew kind of the story he was going to tell at some point, and to see it play out was just, it was very emotional. And to your point, I didn't want it to end, and to know that this was the last one. It was bittersweet because, you know, it was such a great conclusion. You know, a lot of times these franchises, you don't get a lot of landings that are stuck. A lot of times it's like, oh, great start, great middle, the ending. You know, it's fine, but like I wish they would have stuck the landing a little better. I thought they saved the best for last, and it was amazing, and also makes me more excited for DC with Superman with James Gunn, because I'm like, man, he is gonna nail this stuff.
I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of people have been like, oh my gosh, is Superman going to be a comedy? Is it going to be just all this crazy James Gunn type humor?
Yeah.
And this should put everybody at ease.
Yeah.
Because yes, there was great comedy, and by all means, have some great comedy in there in the Superman movie as well. I'll laugh.
Yeah.
I love to laugh,
Yeah.
but I also love that the feels, as you said, and he did a great job of combining that. And the characters, you know, everybody got their moment to shine.
Yeah,
they really did. They gave everybody, you know, Mantis, Drax, Everyone. It was Rocket's story, as you pointed
Oh
out,
yeah.
and as you said. But everybody did. The way they brought Gamora back also, I thought really fit in well, and it wasn't wrapped up in a bow at the end. It was like, oh, now she remembers who she is. Her
Yeah.
and Peter in love again. It's just not to be.
Yeah.
Or maybe later on down the road, if somebody else
Yeah.
takes the mantle and runs with it,
Yeah.
or takes the baton and runs with it. But it just wasn't to be. That she's living her life with the Ravagers.
And then they little tease you with, is it Nebula? Like, is he gonna hook up with Nebula?
Yeah, I know.
Like,
There was a couple things,
Yeah.
right? When she was carrying him back and putting him in the bed, and that
I think she
love
has
you.
like a little secret thing for him, even though she'll never show it, because
Right.
whatever. And I think vice versa in a little bit. It's actually wild because their chemistry is so good together.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense. I will say on it, and it's not a negative to the movie. I just think going into this movie, if you haven't seen it yet, if you're a little tender to soft spots for animal
Yes.
cruelty, there are a couple of things that were like quite hard to watch. And it's actually funny because, well, not funny, but PETA has actually come across and said that this is probably the best movie against animal cruelty that's ever come out. But in doing so, you have to kind of put yourself in. Like, there were multiple times I was like, this is CGI. This is not real. This is CGI. This is not real. Because there were a couple moments where I was like, wow, okay. Like, this is hard to watch.
It did,
Very hard to
especially.
watch.
And you're definitely feeling that. Again, a testament to him.
Yeah.
The script and whatever else, and the directing, that
Not
you
laughs.
care, that you're feeling
Yeah.
for Rocket. I mean, yes,
Oh.
we've gotten to know him through four previous movies, I guess,
Yeah.
counting Endgame and
Yeah.
Infinity War. But it was just you felt bad.
Oh, yeah.
And I will say this: as much as they gave, they were propping up Kang and Jonathan Majors as being the big bad, and we've both felt different ways about that, about how it was a little bit of a letdown. The High Evolutionary,
Oh, he was great.
as a bad guy. I mean, the actor was it Chuck Awuji?
Peacemaker.
He was from Peacemaker. Yes, he is. So James Gunn, he loves to have his acting cabal
Yeah.
and his acting troupe, and he kind of brings those guys around with him. So he was in Peacemaker, this actor, and which James Gunn did,
Yeah.
and now he brought him over into the Guardians, and I thought he did a fantastic job.
great.
It's one of the better villains, I
Yeah.
think. Marvel's gotten a lot of
I would say top
stuff about
3 to 5.
yeah,
somewhere in that range.
it's always they've gotten this
Yeah.
thing about the villains aren't well developed. I think he was.
Yeah.
I think he was well developed. And I just think he did a great job with the acting and just everything.
Oh, he was great.
It was just all around. So for those of you who think that we are Marvel haters, because I've heard that.
Here you go.
That's not true. We loved Guardians. I think,
Yeah.
and by all means, we recommend it. And it did for DC. It gives us great hope. Because we can see what he can do. And then he's going to bring that same heart and feel and everything over to Superman, hopefully, and it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I really like the villain too. I would say he was kind of on par with like Killmonger, around that. Like in the backstory, the flashbacks with Rocket when he was small, I think really brought it home because you could actually kind of get from his side why he is the way he is, especially when you see his face get all. Which was another for the body horror. I didn't know if that got you. I was like, oh wow, okay.
Right.
But yeah, I thought it was well executed. And again, I love Marvel. It's been just a patch of bad movies lately, and been rooting. But this movie really felt like 2018.
Yeah.
I was like, this is great. What's next? And
I know.
Of course, it's one of the originals. And with the original director. It's one of those things where it does show when you give one creative mind a whole franchise where it's his vision, and this is one of those where Kevin Feige let James Gunn do his thing from start to end, and you saw it because everything flowed. You could see the chemistry, and again, I one of the big takeaways for me was each actor got their true moment to shine. From Drax, we finally got to see Drax the Destroyer again.
Yes.
Like he was kicking butt, which I think. I really appreciated that because last couple movies he was kind of a bit of a joke, kind of not quite as bad as Hulk, but
Right.
it was good to see him back, just like kicking butt again. Groot obviously had a couple of them. Quill, from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie, you saw him come back full circle again. I would say Nebula might have the best story arc in Marvel. Like her arc was absolutely fantastic.
It showed, there was a couple scenes in there where it showed just how deeply she felt part of that family. This was her family.
Yeah.
She had never had that, I guess. And even with Thanos, Gamora was obviously the favorite, and he just totally abused her. So she never really had that. So to her, to everyone, all of them, they were a family, but this was her first real experience, I think, with it.
Yeah.
And it showed a couple times with the emotion when she realized that Rocket was awake.
Well, that's what I was going to get to when because she, is very like monotone, but when Rocket comes on the speaker and you see her for the first, you're like, wow. I mean, she just weeps.
Yep.
And I think you see Mantis and Drax see that in her. And are like, oh, she is a part of the family. Like that was we're fully letting her in moment. And then like her moment, what I thought was great with Drax was saying like, oh no, like you're meant to be a dad. Like and him with those kids, it was just like incredible. So just 2 thumbs up. It was fantastic. I can't recommend this enough. It doesn't matter if you are a kid or a teenager there's some in this for everybody. It was really, really, really special.
And I was going to say that. I'm glad I didn't because I would have been wrong. I was going to say this is one of the only trilogies that I can recall through Marvel that had the same director from part 1 through part 3, but I'm actually wrong. Ant-Man also had the same director. Unfortunately, his part 3 didn't stick. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it kind of left everyone with a bad taste. Guardians was just from beginning.
I agree.
From part 1 through part 3, man. And the most surprising, because as we've said before, no one knew Guardians before 2012 or whatever
year it was.
Came out. And it was just like, I remember thinking, will this be Marvel's first flop?
Yeah.
And come to find out, it's their best.
It was great to see their comic suits there at the end too.
Yes,
that was awesome.
Yes, it was.
I would say, to me, if I had to vote, it's my favorite. I think it's the best trilogy that they've put out.
I would say so too. And first I'm like, well, what about Avengers? But then Avengers 2, even though I enjoyed it, Age of Ultron kind of had a
This was 3 very good films.
Yes, right back.
And then the Christmas special was great.
It was. Yes, it was. So I forgot it. Yeah, that's true too. So if you include that, then James Gunn did no wrong as far as his time in Marvel.
And I don't know if you know, seen the speculation, but he said at least 2 Guardians are already confirmed to appear in Superman Legacy in some form or fashion.
Oh, wow.
It's just a guess of who's what, how big a role, Any guesses?
Oh gosh, I would say Palm, and I'm going to get
Palm. Yeah, I don't know what her last name is either.
Kleintiff, I believe, or something like. I butchered that. I apologize, but just because I think she's already made a couple of. She was in Suicide Squad for a hot, brief moment. You know what I mean? And I just feel like she has been buried under the makeup, so it wouldn't be bringing a lot of baggage as seeing like Peter Quill. You know what I mean? Is as
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord as somebody over in Superman. It wouldn't bring that same type of thing. She's kind of she could play a totally different character, even physically. You know what I mean? So I think it'd probably be her. I wouldn't be surprised if Sean Gunn.
Sean's definitely, but I don't know if he's referring to him just because I'm like, okay, well he's in everything he does, so maybe. If so, obviously Yondu, the actor, he'll be in it, I'm sure. It's
Michael Rooker.
Even if it's like a brief 3-second
Just
thing,
like we had the brief 3 seconds of him in which was a fantastic callback. He was talking to the rapper.
Shout out to my friend Sarah. She was an extra running by.
Oh.
In that very brief where you see him, she's one of the extras that runs by.
Oh, that's really cool.
Shout out to her for being in that movie.
There you go. We'll have to have you on the show and talk about your experience.
Yeah, for sure. Dave Bautista, maybe Lex Luthor?
Oh, maybe. Ray, what's up, buddy?
What's up?
I'm just very confused right now. Are you saying that Guardians and Superman have crossovers?
No. What we're saying is that the actors, James Gunn has directed the Guardians films, so he's going to bring not characters but actors over to be in the Superman movie.
He's the one who's heading up DC and directing the new Superman film.
Right.
So if you like Guardians, you'll probably like the new Superman.
Yeah, So that's just to be clear, we're talking about actors because as we referenced earlier, he works with a lot of the same actors. Like he's got his little acting troupe that he kind of goes in, and you'll see a lot of the same familiar faces. So I definitely think that we'll see that, and I do really think it'd be Palm. I really do. Palm, if I had to guess,
I do too.
One and like maybe
I'd say another one. Bradley Cooper is maybe like Lex.
Oh, that
also, or voicing Crypto, because Crypto is confirmed to be in Superman Legacy.
But Crypto doesn't talk though.
Does he?
Well, at least the Crypto that I'm familiar with.
He might.
I mean, he did in Super Pets, but I think that was a little different.
I don't know. I feel like maybe they could communicate with each other.
Oh, maybe they can.
I'm just on ball. Like, if someone voices, it could be Bradley Cooper as Lex Luthor. I think could also.
What about Vin Diesel as Lex Luthor?
No.
I mean, he's got the bald head. He's got the
Yeah.
But no, I also agree. Unless he came from the streets.
Yeah.
But no,
Family.
yeah. No, but I think Palm was a safe bet. Zoe could be. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, Karen too. She's already not in Superman. I saw Karen already wants to be Poison Ivy.
Yes.
I'd be like, yes, do that.
I think because of Gunn's influence, if these guys aren't in Superman,
They'll be in something.
they'll be in other.
They'll
DC
definitely be in
films.
something. It's just a matter
100%.
of who will be in Superman. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I bet all of them are in something.
In some.
Yeah, including
way.
Chris Pratt. I think
Very possible.
he'll be in something too. So
Yeah.
Guardians a standing ovation.
100%. I loved it. I did. We could add that up there to the top of the charts
Yep.
for that. And it kicked off the summer movie season. This was the kickoff of the summer movie season, and we've got a lot of great things coming out. So we'll be talking about that as we go along on the shows as well.
Yep.
But I have to stop and give you a quick shout out, my friend. A few episodes ago, you predicted on the show Super Mario Bros.
Oh, I did.
You really did. You said it's going to freak. It'd be phenomenal.
Yep.
It's going to make $1 billion. And I think it has
The highest grossing film of the year.
it's definitely the highest grossing film of the year. It's done so well that they are now talking, is Disney in trouble? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because the last few releases from Disney are talking about their animation, and stuff like that, have not done well. Lightyear came out last summer.
Yep.
Didn't do very well for being part of the Toy Story franchise. And then they had a film that dropped in December, Strange World, I believe.
Yep.
Both of them look great. I'm
And
sure I would
Red.
enjoy them.
Red, it was supposed to go in theater and they put it straight to streaming. That flopped
Turning
too.
Red.
Turning Red, yeah.
Well, see, since the pandemic, though, they've been in a bit of a situation. But it's weird. They've released Disney films, but every Pixar flick has gone straight to Disney Plus.
Yeah, which
you know
is
what
very
I mean?
bizarre because they're like the best.
Yeah, and the first Pixar flick that didn't go to Disney Plus flopped. Lightyear.
Yeah.
That came out last summer, and that was we could do a whole show about maybe why that didn't work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it has. I've seen so many different articles now that say, that wasn't Illumination. Did
Yep.
they do? Yeah, Illumination.
With the Minions and Despicable Me, they crush them.
Yeah, they did. Was it the most Despicable Me? The most recent one came out last summer,
Yeah.
too, right? Yeah, that crushed was the highest animated
Yeah.
film of the summer. So they really are. And Disney this summer has. Oh God, I had it on the tip of my tongue. What is the
Little Mermaid's coming out.
The Little Mermaid's coming out, but that's live action. I do believe that.
Oh,
one
that'll
will
do good, yeah.
really, really well.
Yeah.
That's going to do fantastically well, I do think.
Yeah.
But no, there was.
That's the movie I'm a little nervous
Oh,
about.
Elementals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The Elementals comes out this summer too.
Yep.
So that'll be the true test, I think, to see if Disney flops with that one, then they really will be in some.
And I can
serious
tell you what,
trouble
that
as far as
Mario
animation
verse
goes.
that thing's cracking wide open because there's so many spin-offs they're going to be able to do, including the continuation of the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Yeah.
And honestly, the reason I said that about Mario, especially if it was good, which it was, was Minions. That's a movie about beings that can't really talk,
Right.
That fun, but and it's true with these movies that stick with kids, they bug their parents to go back over. I mean, I don't know if you have kids. If you listen to Frozen, you have to play that song again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
It's the same with movies. I want to see Minions. I want to see Minions again. And then you just go back and again and again. And it's the same thing. It's like, and then, we have $1.3 billion box office because you have all these kids that need to go back again. And I was like, Super Mario is going to be the same thing, except this is going to be a movie the adults also want to go back to.
Right. Yeah,
You know
because
what I mean?
dude, people who are like over in their 60s know Super Mario
yeah.
Brothers. You know what I mean? When that movie, we introduced Mario back in the original Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
It's funny that he was just a minor. Well, he wasn't a minor character. He was a character in
Yeah.
Donkey Kong. Then he went on and kind of became the big dog himself. But it's just doing really well. And I said, we talked about one of our first shows, movies, games
Yep.
that could be turned into movies. I see Mega Man's being dusted off.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And
There's going to be a lot
of.
there's a trend with these between The Last of Us live action
Yeah.
and then I think it's going to, with Super Mario's in an animated form, I think a lot of, it's like a trend. Like, we can replicate that. It's the same when we talk about Harry Potter with all people try to duplicate, and I think it's going to be the same, especially with their own studios. They're going to have to dust off more games.
So you might know this, and I was going to ask. I'm not familiar. does Illumination, do they own all of the Nintendo stuff, or did Nintendo sell off, much like Marvel did originally, sell their pieces, characters off to
I'm
different
assuming that's
studios?
what that is. I think it's whatever. What I think they just partner with them. It seems, but I think it's like Pixar and Disney kind of relationship.
Okay, so
From
then,
what I understand, so they have the Minions universe, and now,
right, but what I'm asking is, like, do they have access to all of Nintendo?
I believe so.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they will. So basically, Illumination then will be behind
Yeah.
all of this. What's up, buddy?
Did Illumination do Detective Pikachu as well then?
Yes,
Did they?
yes,
Okay.
Okay.
I believe so.
That-
Because if I remember right, the Minions are always like, they do like the Illuminate.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
I think the one had like little Pikachu ears, if I remember
Okay.
correctly. When they do that, but yeah, I mean, Super Mario Bros. Top 5 animated movie of all time now in the
Yeah.
box office. It's it could get in the top 3. They consider that first Lion King or the live action Lion King, I mean it is animation, but which is madness. I don't think it's gonna catch that because that's like way up there. But then it's like Frozen, and there's like one other one, the original Toy Story, I
Yeah.
think, or Toy Story 2.
I
That's
think Toy
really
Story 2,
it.
I think, did. Yeah, they're up
You
there in
know,
the top
it's
three. Yeah, man, it was.
Called
Did you happen to see that, Ray?
Toy Story?
No, Super Mario.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay, yeah,
It's good.
It is, and they encompassed all of everything that Mario
Yeah.
has been a part of.
Yeah.
They incorporated the racing part of it.
Yeah.
Just the from the Mario Kart, and then the Super Mario
Yeah.
game, and just so much. And
Yeah.
and the actors, the
Yeah.
comedians,
Yeah.
were just freaking incredible. Jack
Yep.
Black and just.
And now I'm hearing a lot of Pedro Pascal is what's the W Mario?
Wario.
Wario.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of even Jack Black's like Wario. Pedro
Yeah.
Pascal. Let's
There you go. That's
because that
awesome.
Saturday Night Lights live skit he did.
I just watched that one not too long
It's
ago.
great.
And it was such a great. If you guys haven't seen it, it's like if they did they did a Mario Brothers movie
In the
but
Last
in the
of Us
tone
universe.
of The Last of Us, very
Yeah.
serious and dark and grim.
He was
you know
great.
what I mean? And it was just so good. It was so
Yeah,
funny.
and he was a great Mario. I think
Yeah.
afterwards they had like there was like they do those stupid campaigns that some
Yeah.
fans do for him to replace Chris Pratt as the Mario. I'm like,
Right.
yeah, totally, they're gonna do that. But yeah,
It was good stuff, man.
Yeah.
No, anyway, bravo to you. I had to bring that up, man, because you did call it. And I might have had a slight doubt that might be
I'm
the
a little
case.
nervous with Little Mermaid possibly catching it. If that hits right, if it's really, really good, just because of the nostalgia.
Yeah.
For the same reasons I think you get a bunch of kids. Oh, I want to go back and see Ariel again. I want to see Ariel again. You
Right.
know? But I think it's gonna hold.
I think so too. I know the opening weekend, from what I read, the pre-sales already are saying it's not. They can tell, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah. They
weeks
have a pretty
beforehand.
good-
You know what I
yeah.
mean? You can kind of forecast.
At least within
for
like
the
a
most part.
range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what they're already looking at is that it's going to do. I think Memorial Day weekend, I believe, is when it opens up. So not too long from now. But it's looking at like it's going to open up, or at least over $100 million.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
For
So
sure.
I think good things are.
The only thing that might hold that back from like catching Mario is just like you have like Indiana Jones right behind it, and then another movie right behind it. So it's gonna shift. Whereas Mario had this pretty good window where it was the star of the show. You know what I mean?
A movie that I thought was really good that actually suffered because of Super Mario was Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoyed Dungeons and Dragons.
The dead people scene when they're asking the questions,
Oh
I was
my
laughing
gosh.
my ass off.
Yes, it was great.
It's so fun.
And I really enjoyed that movie a lot. And I think for someone now, I understand how people who go see comic book movies and don't really
No.
they enjoy it, but they don't get all the cool things,
The
like
little
right.
stuff.
And that's how it was for me. I think I don't know much about Dungeons and Dragons, the
either.
games, but I would imagine if I was a
Yeah.
D&D guy,
Yeah.
that there were so many cool references.
I'm sure there are
that
Easter eggs all over
yeah,
the
that were
place.
all over the place
Yeah.
that you could really make the movie more exciting. Like right now, I think it's been out for a few weeks now, and it's right under 100 million. So that doesn't really bode well for sequels and stuff like that.
I think they're working on a sequel.
I hope so, because it deserves it.
It was
I
fun.
think it was a lot of fun. I really like Chris Pine did a fantastic job. The cast was great. There was some really cool shots in that movie.
Yeah.
Like when the girl was trying to get away, like that whole
Oh, yeah.
when she was changing and metamorphosing.
Yeah.
With the metamorphosing, all the
Seamless.
different things. It was just like I loved that
The
shot.
effects were
That it was a
fantastic.
straight shot through
Yeah.
all of it, and then through the whole city when she was trying to get away and
Yeah.
changing the mouse, the bird, and just so many cool things.
Yeah.
I loved that shot. It was another shot too that I can't recall off the top of my head, but there was so many
Yeah.
cool things. I just hope I know it was released on digital,
Yeah.
not too long ago.
Yeah.
But I do hope it does deserve a sequel. But my point is that Super Mario came out,
Oh, it smashed it.
and
Yeah,
it
stole
really
the
just
show.
never had the opportunity to catch.
Yeah.
I think if they had released it in a different month or a
Yeah.
different window, it would have done even better.
I think
than
so
it did.
too. Yeah,
So,
it kind of caught a bad break with that one.
It did.
And props to them too for finally giving us our first fat dragon.
right? Rolling.
Bro,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, okay.
It was.
Cool.
The movie was really good too. But yeah, it's a lot of good movies coming up, and as I said, we will continue to share our thoughts on them as they move along and as they come out.
Yeah, that's the movie news.
Yeah. So I guess what we'll do is talk about in our what we want to share with you guys, right? As we're talking, we haven't really given a lot of insight into some of our favorite characters in the DC
Yeah.
universe. We've talked a lot about some of the upcoming movies and things like that. So
Yeah.
what we thought we'd share is maybe our top 10, as I said in the beginning, our top 10 sidekicks.
Yep.
So do you want to break into the Robins? Because we're going to break it into two different divisions.
We'll do Robins and then sidekicks, I think, and break it down and dive into, I guess, more of the comics as well as like, animated movies. But I think this will focus more on the comic side of our CCC, which is great. Obviously, Robins, I guess, it would easily, the dynamic duo, he really started the sidekick thing for everybody.
Yes, he
And
did.
what an important character he is, what he's become, how many different versions there have been, and really on his own, a predominant figure within DC. I think he would be right there. Not with Batman and Superman per se, but very, very tiered down.
Yeah.
He is right there as one of the most prominent characters in all of comic books.
I'd say he's above even like Green Lantern and
Oh,
Flash.
yeah, I
really do
absolutely
think that.
agree.
As much as I love those characters,
I think you'll
Nightwing
find
is
more
there.
people that might not know who Green Lantern is, but they know who Robin is. You
Right.
know. So we're gonna break down. I think we'll have fun with this as far as who we think is the best, as well as, and then we'll rank our favorites. There's 4. We're really doing the main 4. Obviously, Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, and Damian Wayne.
Yep.
Those are, if you ask pretty much anyone, those are pretty much the Robins that are going to be the ones that people talk about. Let's start with.
And let's share too, right? And maybe we'll do it as we go along. But for those who don't know, or maybe you do, the order of appearance too, right?
Oh,
And
right.
I think you just named it, right? The very first Robin obviously was Dick Grayson.
Yep.
And then after him, it was Jason Todd.
Yes.
And then from him,
Tim Drake.
And then last but not least,
Damian, who
Wayne.
is now currently,
He is
as we right
currently
now, the Robin that is in the comics, as well as who's going to be the Robin in the DCU's Brave and the Bold.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we'll just kick off. What did you want to say? You said the favorites first?
We can do favorites, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll do my 4. I'll start from the bottom. So my least favorite is Jason Todd.
Okay.
Here comes your third. Third for me is Dick Grayson.
Okay.
Damian second. Tim's first.
And that's your favorites.
He's my favorite, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Reason being, I like Jason. I like him better as Red Hood than I do as Robin. He's also kind of an a-hole when he's Robin. He's more, as you know, he has a very troubled childhood prior to becoming Robin. Batman finds him trying to steal the wheels of the Batmobile in the comics when he finds him. I don't know, to a lot of comic book readers also wasn't their favorite. Obviously, they voted to kill him off. Dick Grayson's my third. I think that's probably the most shocking for a lot of people. I think
Shocking for me.
yeah, he's great. I've known him more as Nightwing.
Mm-hmm.
And by that I mean just the stuff I've seen him in. I've seen him. He's usually Nightwing at that point more than Robin. I do think he's the most important Robin by a mile.
Right.
And the most important, like if someone said, "Oh, we're redoing comics, we can only have one Robin, and there will never be another one," it should be Dick Grayson. He's the original. He's he got his own very unique story with Bruce Wayne. Damian's very much grown on me. I know he's not everyone's favorite. I don't think he's your favorite. I'm gonna guess he's probably 4 or 3 on yours. But I love his snarkiness and because he's Bruce's son. I think it adds a dynamic to it that the other Robins just don't have.
Right.
And you'll know this, but for those who are watching Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, that movie by itself jumped Damian into number 2 for me. He grew so much as a character, and to see like his level of badassery that he can do. Obviously, he has that darkness in him, but also very similar to what we talked about with Nebula, his growing fondness and love for the other Bat family members, like especially with his relationship with Dick Grayson in particular. I really like his story. And then my favorite is Tim, mainly because I grew up with Batman the Animated Series. That's what my Batman is, the Batman from the Animated Series, and that was my favorite show. And Tim was Robin, and that, like, that's just, so to me, when it's Batman and Robin, I see that Robin.
Right.
It's Tim. He also, to me, and what I like about him and what makes him my favorite, is he's the only one who really understands what the importance of Robin is to Batman, and that Batman needs a Robin. And I think he's the only one that really enjoys being Robin, especially during the time that he is Robin. You know, Dick kind of grows on to enjoy being Nightwing, but he really struggles at times as Robin. Obviously, Jason, we don't even need to go into him. And then Damian is, again, kind of an a-hole and hates everybody. So I think for that reason, he's my favorite. But let's
all right,
let's go with yours.
Well, you were spot on, my friend. Starting with my least favorite Robin is Damian Wayne.
Okay,
he just is. You're right. A lot of people love that character, and I see why you said Justice League Dark. He was a very important character, and I saw the growth that he had and all of that stuff within it. I just can't. I don't know what it is. Maybe by the time the movie comes out, I'll be a fan of Damian Wayne. And I don't hate Damian Wayne, but if I'm looking at the four of these guys, he's my least favorite. Yeah. You know, but he's probably the most well trained, only because he's been trained from birth. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. To be, you know, with the League of Assassins and all of that stuff. So I mean, he's probably the most violent and the most.
Oh yeah, I would say if they all got in a fight, he would win.
Yeah, he might actually do that. You know what I mean? So that's my fourth, and Jason Todd is my third.
Yeah.
Jason, you talked about this earlier, how he was. For those of you who don't know, there was a time back in the 80s where Jason Todd was, you know, Dick Grayson had quit being Robin, so Jason Todd became, as you said, they found him. He was still in the rails off the Batmobile. But he was, you know, talk about hothead. He was just a hothead, and just whatever. He wasn't really endearing himself to the readers at the time. So they had a vote where they basically said, does Robin die or does he live? And Robin died. Yeah. He was killed by the Joker with a crowbar, beat to death, you know, and he was dead in real
for a while.
Yeah, for a number of years in real time, 20 years, I think.
Yeah,
at least.
You know, which is a long time in comic books.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It wasn't like next year he was. They brought him back or anything crazy like that. He was dead for 20 years. They brought him back as I think his first appearance in a dream was in Hush. Yeah. You know, and it wasn't the real Jason Todd at that point in time. But I think because of the excitement of that is when they decided to bring him back. You know what I mean? As they were like, oh, okay.
And what a great idea they had.
Yeah, and turn him into the Red Hood. Now, I do like him as the Red Hood as well. Yeah. I like him better also. But he's my third. Tim Drake is my second favorite Robin. He is my... He's my second favorite Robin. And I really like Tim Drake. I've known him. He's been, like you said, he's all the things you said, right?
Yeah.
He enjoys being Robin. He's actually, though, in my opinion, I think he's probably, and Ra's al Ghul has admitted this, that he is the really heir apparent to being Batman. Tim Drake is. You know, he's not the best fighter. He's not. But he's the best detective.
Yeah, he calls him the detective.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
The only person he gives that honor to is Batman.
Yep, and then he called Tim Drake that. So, you know, even if Ra's al Ghul recognizes that he's got the skills and everything to be Batman. But, you know, he's the only one. He realized that Batman needed a Robin, as you said, you know, and he figured out Bruce Wayne was Batman.
Yeah, on his own.
On his own. He went to Dick Grayson first and was like, hey, you know, you need to go back to start being Robin. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because without a Robin, and he was really just morose and everything after Jason Todd died.
It's a little dark.
He just went on a really violent streak. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he was already, you know, because he lost his second son and all of that stuff. And they were like, he needs a Robin to lighten up that darkness. Yeah. You know, so Tim Drake, that's why, and he was a Robin for a number of years.
He was like recruiting himself.
Yeah. So from like 1990, I think, is when he first made his appearance in the comics. Through 2000, 7 or 8 whenever
Right.
Damian first came into so he was Robin for a number of
Long
years.
time.
He's been the longest Robin outside of Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
In real time and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I've known him for a number of years in the comics, and he's been Robin to me. And I also maybe I have a little bit of dislike towards Damian because when he came into play
Still
in
the
as Robin,
spotlight.
they didn't know what to do with Tim Drake. They really have it still.
Like Red Robin's still.
Yeah, Red
and then
Robin's
Drake,
a thing.
which
Yeah,
is a
he went by,
stupid-ass
which I'm
name.
like, how could you call
Yeah, for the
yourself?
smartest person,
Like,
you
I
got a
became a
stupid-ass
hero. I'm
name,
gonna be
bro.
Lawson. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he called himself Drake. So just all this weirdness that they've kind of put him in
Yeah.
since Damian's come, but he's still out there. And he's also led the Titans and all of this stuff. So, and every Robin has been in some type of incarnation of the Titans also.
Right.
Which leaves us with my number one guy, Dick Grayson, man. He, to me, is, he's so important of a character. You said a lot of it in the beginning, so I won't go into it. But he's so important of a character. Without him, who knows? I mean, maybe eventually, but without him, there would have been no of these sidekicks,
Right.
like Speedy for Green Arrow or Wonder Girl for Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? Or Aqualad.
Yep.
And started this whole new
wave of
stuff. Yeah, you know what I mean? And has gone on. And he's also, we've seen him progress more than most people have in comics.
Yeah.
We meet Dick Grayson as a 13, 12-year-old boy or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we've seen the progression of him going from Robin to becoming his own character as Nightwing.
And I can tell you that's a pillar. That character is. I said it when we were talking about our first episode. He is there with Batman and Superman.
He really
at
is.
this point. And they're shaping him to be that in the comics as well.
Yeah, I think recently in the comics, I mean, the Titans have now kind of become the number one superhero team outside of or above the Justice League.
Oh, yeah, they're pushing them more than Justice League.
Yeah, so the premier superhero team. We've seen the progression of him go and all of that, and also just the fact that we've seen him reconcile with Bruce, because the reason they didn't. They had that falling out is Dick. He just wouldn't let Dick become an adult almost. He felt like he couldn't grow.
And he was so burdened by it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And and so they had a falling out, and that's when he went and became Nightwing and all of this.
Yeah.
He quit being Robin. But to me, that's the number one Robin. And the one who I've known for a number of years as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before this whole transformation of handing down the mask to different Robins and stuff like that.
He's this is a very weird comparison, but I always considered Dick Grayson very similar to Leonardo in the Ninja Turtles. He's got such a mentorship that he does towards the other Robins, just like Leo kind of does. That's my favorite thing about him is how he helps, because he knows how Batman is, and he how many times have we seen in comics or animated films where Robin's pissed off or something, and Dick's like, I've been there. This is how it's gonna be, and this is what you're under. This is the life you chose, and there's a lightness at this point, and he will kind of show some of the lightness where obviously Bruce just doesn't have that in him. So
right,
I agree with that.
Yeah. So that's our. I guess that's our favorites. Did you want to just
quick rundown of who we think's the best?
Yeah.
Tim's probably the best for all around for the same reasons you said. He's the smartest. He is very much that detective side. I think heir apparent to Batman would be, I guess, the most intriguing question, because I think it's two people, and it is my top two actually. I think it's either Damian or it's Tim. The problem with Damian is he has that he will kill you, and I just don't. It depends on what kind of Batman you want, I guess.
Right.
Because he is also very intelligent. Because obviously he's got his dad's blood in him, and he's got that training. Like if they get in a fist fight, like Damian would whoop Tim's butt.
True,
so if you talk about the fighting aspect, it'd be Damian. But I think Tim, and I think even Batman is said in the comics that it's Tim.
Yeah, he is the heir apparent to the cow,
Yeah.
so to speak. It is Tim, and then that's probably the best Robin. Who and the fact that he doesn't. He'll be the best Batman, but he, like, I think you just mentioned this, but he enjoys being.
He loves it
so much.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's fun for him.
Yeah, it is. So that's my favorite.
Yep, and he's our favorite sidekick of all time. So there you go. We'll
exactly.
just start there.
Yeah.
Who are some of your other, so obviously again he started this wave of sidekicks for pretty much everybody now. So it's almost hard to even find a superhero that's solo,
right?
Because of Robin. But besides him, who are some of your favorites? I guess we should dive into that one.
Sure, man. I'm gonna start with not that these are in particular order, but they are kind of for me. So
Yeah,
at
they're-
least,
yeah.
I'm gonna go with Connor Hawke.
Okay.
All right. For those of you who don't know who Connor Hawke is, he is Green Arrow's son. So he has actually had the mantle of Green Arrow for a while. Back in the '90s, I believe it was. Green Arrow was dead for a number of years in the comics. At least I think he remained dead in real time for maybe, I'm probably off about this 6 to 8 years. I think that might be wrong, but he was dead for almost a decade. I think. And during that time, Connor Hawke stepped in and was Green Arrow. So, he was the Green Arrow in the DC universe, part of the Justice League and everything. So that is, for me, if someone steps up and assumes the mantle of the hero that they've kind of
which is a big task.
Sidekick. It is, and they're able to carry it. I mean, he had his own run of comics too, and like I said, he was a pretty important part of the Justice League. This is also the time where Hal Jordan was gone, so Kyle Rayner was the Green Lantern. So there's always been that relationship between the Arrow and Lantern anyway, and they had that same type of relationship and banter with Connor Hawke and Kyle Rayner. So that was cool. You still got your Green Lantern and Arrow fixed, and for a lot of people during that run, that is their Green Arrow, and that is their Green Lantern. You know what I mean? Those two right there. So I liked how they replicated the relationship between Hal and Oliver with those two. But yeah, Connor Hawke is my
runner-up.
Got him as
Mine, I'm sticking to Batman. It's actually Batgirl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Babs. I think she's great. I think, especially she's had such a long run, whether it's been, being that she's the daughter of Commissioner Gordon, the Oracle aspect to it. We've seen, especially the Killing Joke. Obviously that was a dark story, but really shined on her relationship with the different Robins, and again, obviously because it's the Bat universe, she's so predominant, but to see all the different groups that she's been a part of and just what she brings to the Bat family, she's been around for a long time.
She has
what I mean? I just think she's great.
I have two questions for you, my friend.
Yes.
So do you prefer Batgirl or do you prefer Oracle?
Batgirl.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because, there's just more she can, do physically.
Yeah.
My number, it's funny because my number 2, I don't consider her a sidekick, but she's become kind of a sidekick of it, would be Catwoman. Because she's basically tandem with Batman more than Robin in the comics now. They basically got married, so I guess they have to be. So I love their dynamic, and if that was originally the thing, and she wasn't a villain first, it would actually be her, because she actually understands Bruce kind of like Dick does, and a very, very few people get him. You know what I mean? Really get him. But I still consider her a villain, so she's my number. She'd be my second.
Okay, cool. But I have another question about Barbara.
Yes.
It's always two different pairings. It's always been Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon. They've had a relationship.
Yep.
Or it's been Dick Grayson and Starfire. So who do you prefer in that ship?
See, I think it's about I like with Barbara. It makes sense to me, and it's what I grew up with. So I guess that's the first thing I knew. Yeah. And then when it's with anything, if you're hey, hamburgers go with French fries, and then when you're an adult, they're no, it goes with potato chips. You're no, it goes with French fries. So that's just all I know. But it also just makes a lot more sense. You know what I mean? She's a human being for one, and they grew up together. They go through the same struggles. They understand it just seems like they would make more sense.
I didn't realize you looked down on aliens. So
yeah, it's not my thing. Not my thing. But I get it. Starfire and him are a cool couple.
Yeah. No. Okay. I was just curious because there always is, right? And if you read Titans or whatever, then him and Corey have always been paired up, and then at times, and they actually recently in the run of 3 Jokers. Which just dealt the story because of Batman and then Batgirl and Red Hood, because those are the two who've been scarred the most by the Joker in the family. You know what I mean? Red Hood, obviously, because Joker
they had
killed
that
him.
wild little moment. And they're no.
Yeah, you're right. So you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, they kind of hooked up. They had a little relationship.
Yeah.
But no, Joker killed Red Hood, and then he paralyzed Barbara. Yeah. You know what I mean? And actually, it's been insinuated he did more than paralyzed
for sure
when he did that. But anyways, terrible.
But actually, if you're reading the current Nightwing run by Tom Taylor, he's treating Barbara kind of like MJ for Spider-Man, where she's there for him, and then they kind of have like it's been obviously referred they were a thing,
Yeah.
but they're not a thing at the moment. But like they kind of hook up and have moments. It's kind of like MJ is kind of
Yeah.
with Peter. So it's very much that state as of right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Going on with the sidekicks, I'm going to go with my next one here. I've got old Bucky Barnes.
Same. I actually have the exact. Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got Bucky. Again, he's somebody who, we talk about, in comics, we all know, just like in the soap opera world, right, that somebody dies, they're going to come back. They'll be back. It might be a year. It might be a 12-issue run that they're missing, but they'll come back. Bucky was one of the ones who, much like, what I said, Jason Todd was dead for at least 20 years in real time. Bucky was dead, I think maybe, I don't think I'm exaggerating this, 40 years in real time.
That sounds about
you know what
right.
I mean? Where he was dead and then he came back. But he's one of those guys who has since
Taking up the mantle.
taken up the mantle of Captain America,
Yep.
risen, become his own hero as the Winter Soldier. He's not really Bucky anymore,
right.
you know what I mean? But he's the Winter Soldier, I guess. So that's kind of how, just with the fact that he's also one of the original sidekicks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why
I think
earned
he's
it
the
on
best
my
Marvel
list and held
sidekick.
the mantle. Yeah. So that's, we'll see if I think that as we go along.
Yeah. Did you? I actually, because we didn't start the show at that point. Did you want him to become Captain America over Sam during that?
So I know that they've held the mantle
they've
of
both
Captain
done it,
America. I think it's when we lose, when Sam becomes Captain America, you lose an actual hero.
Yes.
Because he was Falcon.
Yes.
And he's his own hero. He's,
Yes.
he's done his own thing and he's had his own titles and stuff like that. So that's why I think, in my opinion, I would have preferred to see not because he's better than Sam or anything like that, but Winter Soldier's not really a thing. I mean, he's a
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Then he could take the mantle of Captain America, and then Falcon can still be his own hero and stuff like that. And that's not saying, again, just want to be clear, it's not like he's better or I like him better.
No,
we'll see as we go along, actually. But I think that would have.
I also just stand it from a standpoint of Captain America needs to have certain physical abilities that I just think Bucky can do because he has the serum in him.
Soldier. Yeah, the super soldier.
Yeah, that's really my only reason. But I can see him as where I think Falcon is Falcon. Like I just view him as Falcon.
Right.
He's a great asset. He's actually on my list. So
yeah,
I'm assuming by looking, he's the same for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like him as the Falcon, and I think he's a great Captain America and physical. I think he has closer to Steve Rogers' heart, if that makes sense, of like what Steve believes in and what he kind of represents. I think Sam is actually, especially in the MCU, like a better version of that than Bucky per se. But I like him as Falcon. I think he's a great character. I think he's brings a lot to the table. And to watch him kind of grow into what he is now, even within the MCU, has been great. So he's another one that's on my list.
Yeah, he is on mine. He's actually, I'm glad we talked about. He was right after Bucky, right before Bucky, or right above Bucky.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sam. He did start off as Captain America's sidekick. He really was. You know what I mean? And so I think he is. I like him better as Falcon though.
Yeah,
I really do. I think he deserves his own title to continue on. And
Falcon's cool.
He is. He really is. So we talked about that then. So next for me then is Tempest. Garth.
Okay.
He was the former Aqualad. And I like him, I think, because he gets no love. He really doesn't. A lot of people don't even, actually, he's been overshadowed with the new Aqualad.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with Young Justice, which has been a pretty awesome run of animated show. I think Garth's been on there once or twice. He's not in that scenario or world. He's not even Aqualad. He had a chance to be, but Cal Duram or whatever, took the mantle. Garth decided he didn't want to. But I like him because he was part of the original Titans. You guys all know I've said it a lot. I'm a huge Titans fan, right? And that original Titans run was Speedy, Green Arrow's sidekick, obviously, Wonder Girl, Wonder Woman's sidekick, Aqualad, Aquaman's sidekick, and Robin, Batman,
Yep.
and then Kid Flash. So
Yep.
it was those five were the original Titans. So that's who I was reading and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And so anytime he would make an appearance back or he'd join the Titans, I really enjoyed it. And
Yeah.
I know that's probably he's not on anybody's list probably when it comes to top 10 sidekicks.
That's good to have something different.
Yeah, but he is on mine. I really do
Yeah.
I like Garth.
Well, I'll spin off of yours because he's not on mine, but Kid Flash is. He's, and again, I talk a character that for a lot of people might be considered their Flash.
Yeah.
And I'd say outside. Now looking, I realize I skipped over him. He would be maybe my next. He's right there with Batgirl on maybe who would be my next after Robin for best DC sidekicks. He was my Flash for a long time because I watched the Justice League animated series, and for a long time that was Wally. But going back to your point, he originated with the Titans, in just his longevity, and then in the Rebirth line of comics, I love what they did with him in his relationship to bring Barry out of the Speed Force. In just he's a very heroic person. He's one of those people. He will lay his life on the line to save people and to save the world, whatever it might be. Yet he has great humor, super great intelligence. I've loved his evolution over time. So Kid Flash is definitely up there for me.
I'll just go as opposed to he's on my list too. So I'll just continue on with this conversation because, and the more I'm talking about it now, I guess people have stayed dead in comics for a number of years.
Yeah.
Because Flash and the Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was 1985, I believe, when that series came out, which revamped the whole DC universe. Barry Allen died.
Yeah.
He died in that.
For a long time.
And he was dead until like 2007.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which has to be one of the longest deaths for a very popular
exactly.
character.
But he remained dead for so long because they did such a great job with Wally. If he wasn't working, then they would have found a way to bring Barry back. So I remember I had the first issue of the Flash after that, which I guess was 1986, of Wally West's first issue of Flash, where he took over the mantle and ran with it, like you said, for 30 some years in comics. And not only that, but a lot of people like you who came up with Justice League, the cartoon on Cartoon Network, he was the Flash. There was no mention of Barry Allen or anything, or that he was once Kid Flash and then he became Flash. He was just the Flash.
He was Flash.
You know what I mean? And so Wally West was that, for all intents and purposes, for a lot of people.
Which is say something if you get promoted into the Justice League or Avengers as the main character, that shows who you are.
Yeah. So it's interesting though. I didn't think about it at the time, but there was all three of those at one point for a number of years.
At the same
Justice
time.
League. Yeah. Wally West is Flash, Kyle Rayner is Green Lantern, and
Arrow. Speedy.
Yes, Connor Hawk as Connor
Hawk. Yeah, Connor
Hawk is there. Not to be confused with Roy Harper.
Yeah.
Do I have? Yes, I do. Okay. I was like, speaking of him,
Floor's yours.
no. I guess we'll roll into from Kid Flash, moving into my next one. I have, and again, I actually have. Spoiler, I had Kid Flash as my number one guy. So we're just kind of continue on in this conversation style. I had Wally West as my number one.
Oh, there you go.
I did. But James Rhodes I have.
Rhodey.
Yep, Rhodey,
Nice.
War Machine.
He's on mine too, so there you go.
So we'll just kind of talk about it. Secret Wars, which is the original
Which
Secret
is coming.
Wars. Which is coming. But I'm using this as an example. Secret Wars, which was a huge comic event from Marvel, which rivals the Crisis on Infinite Earths. They were out almost the same time. I think they were out during the same time frame. They had all the most important Marvel characters. They had Iron Man. Guess what? Tony Stark was not part of Secret Wars. It was James Rhodes under the shell, under the helmet at that point in time. You know what I mean? So the fact that he was in such a prominent story, and I choose him as a sidekick because War Machine.
He is,
You know what I mean? He was, but he's also one of the people who did run and carry the mantle for a number of years. As Iron Man.
Iron Man.
And he was actually. It's interesting. They did this with
Iron Patriot.
Iron Patriot, right? Exactly, from Iron Man 3. But it was very interesting to me. I remember as a kid. And I don't know if it was planned or what, but they had James Rhodes out as Iron Man at the time, and he was the Iron Man in the Iron Man series. Tony, this is when he was battling the alcohol and all that. He was not
Demon in a bottle and all
Demon
that.
in a bottle, so he was out. But over in DC, they had Jon Stewart running as the main Green Lantern. I don't recall what had happened to Hal at that point in time, why he wasn't the main focus, but it was interesting that
I think he was Spectre at that point.
no, he hadn't been at that
It
time.
wasn't.
No, this is
it was
before
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
before all that. I'm not sure what the storyline which we moved to. Maybe he was off
Right.
planet doing whatever. But
That's an easy write out for him. He's like he's off doing.
I know, right? But no, James, or not James,
John
Rhodey.
Stewart. Yep. And Rhodey.
Yeah, John Stewart was the prominent Green Lantern, and Rhodey was the War Machine. So it was interesting for me, as an African American, to have these two prominent
Yeah.
heroes at that time being run, or not being run, but being replaced with them. And guess what? They did fantastic. These guys are still around. It wasn't like they didn't work.
Yeah.
And they kind of removed those characters and kind of said, oh, well, he's never going to be shown again.
Yeah.
They became popular characters in their own right.
Yeah.
So that's why I've got Rhodey down there.
Yeah, he's great, and I'll speak from an MCU standpoint, just the evolution of his relationship with Tony. He's kind of feels for Tony. He knows him before he was Iron Man, you know, and in his relationship. I'm very curious to see, what they do with Rhodey in the MCU going forward. Obviously, Don Cheadle's getting a little older in the tooth, but I think this is the time where he could really step up and be a pivotal part, within the Avengers and then the Armored Wars and Secret Wars. And
Well, he's got a huge role. Well, I think it is. Maybe I'm hyping it up too much, but I believe he's got a pretty prominent role, at least. I'll say that huge in Secret Invasion.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Comes
Yeah,
out,
he should. Yeah.
which comes out in a few weeks, I think.
Yes.
Very soon.
Yeah.
One of the first Disney Plus shows.
They're really
of the
stacking on the
year.
marketing on that, actually. I haven't seen a lot for that.
Yeah, me either. But maybe they'll go and kick into high gear now that Guardians is out. But he's got a pretty big role in that. And as you mentioned, Armor Wars too. He's going to be in there too. So, but yeah, Rhodey, man, he's this is
he's on there
character.
for me, and I can jump in next because it's also Marvel as Wong, and I think as of late he's really become. I mean, really the main Sorcerer Supreme, and his role is great. It's funny because they keep like using him in small, and you're just like, what is this leading to? Like, you just feel like there's something bigger for him. But I like his dynamic with Doctor Strange. Obviously, he's got all of his powers, and Wong is just a really cool sidekick.
Yeah, well, in the past few years, Wong has become what Nick Fury was at one point.
Yeah, he really
the
is.
Marvel
He's in
movies.
everything.
You know what I mean? Every movie or show he's popping up in.
He's in everything.
Playing a pretty, if not prominent role, he's got a pretty important role in some of them. So, yeah, definitely, man. And he's definitely, I think his character has been more developed in the past few years based on the movies, because the movies started to use him. And I think, and maybe I'm wrong about this, maybe he's always been a well-developed character in the comics.
I know. I think he's been brought up more
because
of it.
Yeah, because of that. So that's cool, man. I like that choice. That was interesting. I didn't have him on my list,
Yeah.
but that's a great choice. My next one is Roy Harper. We talked about that, right? Speedy. He's been, I do like him. They've actually made him really good buddies with Jason Todd now. You know
really?
what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, the comics. Him and he's now goes by. He's had different names. He was Speedy, and then he was
Archer, right?
Red Arrow, and then he was Arsenal.
Arsenal, that's the one.
Yeah, so I don't know if I've got that right. I know it was Speedy first.
No,
I'm
it's
not
Arsenal.
Sure it was Arsenal. I don't know if it was Arsenal first or if it was
I think it's Arsenal now.
Red Arrow first. Yeah, it's Arsenal now. Yeah, so he's got a and I like his character. He's actually one of the characters too, where it's a pretty crazy storyline back in when I was growing up. But he was a heroin addict. You know what I mean? They actually
Real world
really
problems with him.
important. There was a really important storyline where Green Arrow was kind of like not ignoring him, but not really taking care of his ward as he should have, or whatever, just doing his own thing, and really ignored the fact that Roy was like freaking just shooting up, man, and all that stuff. So it was. I remember he was like, when he found out that Roy was having was a heroin addict and strung out on drugs and stuff. That was a pretty prominent storyline back then. But I just like him. He's also, I liked how he was portrayed in the show Arrow. I like how he's been used in Young Justice. So and then like I said, I've been a fan of his since the Titans.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, mine, I'm going to do two at the same time because I think they're kind of linked. A lot of this, one in particular, I think is a legacy character. He's considered a sidekick, but in a different way. To me, it's Jimmy Olsen and Superboy.
Okay.
Jimmy Olsen, way back when, was a
Right.
very prominent character. He had his own comic run. It was the Adventures of Jimmy Olsen and Superman. And I think he is going to be in Superman Legacy. He's already been confirmed for that. But you really, a lot of the Superman stories are actually told through the lenses of Jimmy in the comics, and in the brief appearances that he makes even in more recent. I love he has a relationship with Clark Kent as well as Lois Lane, and he always seems to be somewhere in the mix of he's either in trouble or his dynamic with those characters, and because of his longevity and how long he's been around, I just think that he is worth mentioning on this list because he's been around since I think the 30s or 40s. I think
Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy.
Oh yeah, I think since Superman.
Yeah, since like the beginning of it.
Yeah,
so
you know what I mean?
He deserves Superboy is another one for me. Particularly Connor. I like him just because I know him more.
Yep.
I think he's got a great relationship with Nightwing and with the Titans. We've seen him in the show Titans. Has all the powers of Superman, or a lot of the powers of Superman, and he just brings that kind of to the table, and Superman being the crown jewel of them all.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to take Superboy off the list.
No, he's on my list. I actually have him as my number 2.
Oh, there you go.
And the Connor Kent version.
Yep.
Because that's the one I know.
I don't like the son version.
Jonathan
as much.
Kent?
I think he's
Spawn
an
or
interesting character. Just like to me, I don't see Superman as like the dad yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's just not there yet. So my version's Connor.
Yeah, same here. Now that I got to know Connor because of Titans, and then so the Titans run I was reading, and you're right about him being fringed with.
But it was Tim at that
Nightwing
time.
In Young Justice, the
Yeah.
cartoon, they portrayed
Yes,
them as
very
being
much
boys.
so, yeah.
But in the comic run, it's always been Connor and Tim.
Yeah.
They were boys, and not only that, but it was the oh my gosh, what was her name? The Wonder Girl version, the blonde Cassie. The blonde Wonder Girl version. Those were like the Trinity. You know what I mean? Of the Titans. You know, Trinity, as we've said before, is Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. So they were the younger Trinity.
Yeah.
Those three right there. And they just had I liked the camaraderie, and I just loved their Titans run. So that's why Connor, to me, you know what I mean? And I like the way they are showing him in Titans, the show. The show Titans actually also has been really good. They've done a good job.
He shaved his head.
Him. Yeah, he did. He's going Luthor route.
A little different, though. It's a refreshing take.
Yeah,
which I like.
For sure.
And then the last one, this is my last one for my list that I think is on there is Donna Troy, Wonder Girl.
I have her.
Yeah.
She was my number 4.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. I'm
She
glad
gets
they figured out her
undershadowed a
character.
lot.
She was, because she was great in the Perez run of Titans. That in the Titans run where I really got to know. I knew her from the original Titans run, but the New Teen Titans in the 80s, man, which rivaled the X-Men. They were actually, the New Teen Titans was the number 1 DC comic, and then the X-Men comic was number 1 Marvel at that time.
Yeah.
They actually was a huge crossover that they did with Teen Titans and X-Men.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a pretty cool series if you haven't checked it out. It was like a mini series of 4 issues. But she's been great. I didn't like her, like, she was Wonder Girl. I like her more as Wonder Girl. And then they changed her a little bit to a Troya. There was a number where, and then they kind of skewed her character. But lately, it's gotten back to where she is now the daughter Troy I know and love. But yeah, she's been fantastic. She was also dead for a number of years, I think, and not as long as everybody else, but they've come back, and now they're utilizing her a lot more. She also has been Wonder Woman at one point, at least a year or two run in the comics there, where she was Wonder Woman, and where Diana had gone off and done something else. So yeah, Donna Troy.
Love Connor Leslie's performance there too. I thought
yes,
she
she did great.
She looked the part too, big time. I was like, she could be Wonder Woman easily.
I know that was one of the disappointing things about this last season of Titans. I don't know if she shows up in the last two episodes or not, but she didn't. She wasn't. They didn't show her in this season, which I thought was a letdown because I thought she did a great job as Donna.
She's a very nice person too.
Yeah, that's what you got to meet
She's
her.
really
right?
hard to look at.
Yeah. Yeah, but so that's kind of our list.
Those are the sidekicks I would say to check out.
Yeah,
for sure,
definitely, man. And each of them also have some great runs in the comics, with teams and also solo runs.
Yeah.
So if you haven't checked them out, do. And I guess that brings us to
I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, we definitely covered a lot. I did want to say thank you to our sponsor, Nomadic State of Mind. Please, guys, we're getting close to the summertime. Check them out. They've got some fantastic shoes, sandals, beachwear, bags, whatever it is that you're looking for the beach, they have it.
Yep.
So definitely check those guys out. And also, big thank you as well to you guys, right? You've been supporting us, been watching the show, commenting on the show, sharing the show. So we definitely appreciate it. Please continue to share, subscribe.
Let us know your favorite sidekicks.
Yeah, let us know your favorite sidekicks also. See if we missed anybody out, and then we can talk about them next time.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, guys, Jake, Been fun, my friend.
Always.
Yep.
See you next time, guys.
Later.